交易者听起来很酷，没盈利又什么都不是。K 线之间，你屡败屡战，却屡战屡败，浑然不知是眼界输了。金钱永不眠，方向不止一边。电波刺穿圈层，声音勾画伦敦。这一刻，为你推开金融城的交易门。
Hello， 大家好，欢迎大家来到伦敦交易者。我是伦敦交易者的主创 Richard。然后希望大家能通过我们的节目，在你的交易上有所收获。那我们今天会请到的嘉宾是 Gary Norden， 他是分析师中的分析师，交易员中的交易员，曾经是在 NatWest， 也就是英国西敏斯特银行任职策略总监。那他之后也任职多家世界著名的投行，包括 ING 包括一些其他很知名的一些投行。那他在做市商策略上面和一些机构的交易策略上面来说，在整个行业当中都是首屈一指的。那他最引人注目的一点呢，就是他35岁的时候就已经财务自由，然后在澳大利亚的黄金海岸定居。那么废话不多说，有请我们的嘉宾
Gary。Hi
Richard。Hi Gary. Let's we start our chat or our interview.
Sure.
Yeah, just enjoy the interview.
Sure. No problems.
Yeah, okay. We start with the quick and answer, just around like.
I started trading when I was 18. Scalping futures and options trades. Different ones, but generally I'll stick to equity indices. Well, I don't use any technical analysis. Biggest hobby probably comes around soccer. Family is more important.
You are a very experienced trader. How did you get into trading? When did you start trading?
I've traded in a number of different markets. I started trading when I was 18. I got a job at a Japanese investment house and I was given a trading book 6 months after joining. I literally joined the Japanese bull market at the peak and it collapsed. And in fact, as it was collapsing in 1990, 1991, that's what provided me the opportunity to trade because all the traders, that's why I started trading at 18, was because literally 2 or 3 months after joining, the traders were losing lots of money. And the management needed to get different people in and they chose me to trade this book. And that gave me an opportunity during the crash. And the same, every time I've joined a market, it has generally gone crashed after. And it's nothing to do with me, I can assure you.
Did you become the options market maker at Life in 1993 when you work for Live on the floor? So what kind of job, what do you do every day?
There are two types, and I had two different roles. I was on the floor for, I think, 7 or 8 years in total. You either work for yourself or you work for a bank. I did both. So when I worked for myself, I was actually an options market maker. So you stand in the pit, the same pit, you trade the same market every day. And for me, it was, I traded German interest rates, I traded German bond options, and I traded FTSE options. So they're not at the same time, obviously, but different times. Look, when you work for yourself, you really only care about what you're doing. You're trading in small size. You just care about making money for yourself every day. So with NatWest, what had happened, so I was 23, I think, when I got offered that job. But I'd already been trading for 5 years, so I'd had a reasonable record. But importantly at that time, in fact, the markets were very difficult. Options markets were getting quite difficult. A lot of guys had come over from the US. It was getting quite competitive. And what happened at that time was a number of banks, NatWest, I think Salomon, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, a lot of the big banks recruited market makers from the pits to run their options. They realized that whilst they had a lot of business in the bank, they didn't have that knowledge that market makers have of how to actually handle that business and, you know, more nuance and more knowledge about how options work in the real world, which market makers are always the best traders. So NatWest approached me. I think NatWest were 32nd when I took over. And within about a year, we were the 3rd biggest options team on the floor. And from my perspective, it was a great opportunity to work for a big bank.
Okay. And you have written several books, so 2 books, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And can you tell me why you published them? I think you have answered some points from the beginning. And so just can tell me more about why you love to write the book and publish them.
The first book was called Technical Analysis and the Active Trader. It's hard to get now. It was published in 2006, I think. Really, the first one was kind of by accident. So I left the city of London 2003 and I moved to Australia. And for my whole trading career up until that point, I didn't know anything about the retail industry. I literally knew nothing. And I came to Australia and I was in a local newsagent and I saw this trading magazine. So I picked it up and read it and I was really horrified. It was all about technical analysis. It was all about Fibonacci, Gann, trend lines, chart patterns. And I can remember thinking, this is nothing. And not one trader I've ever worked with has used any of this. I started to realize that in the retail industry that it was almost all technical analysis and chart patterns. So what I did then was, it was one thing for me to say, I think this is rubbish, but it's another thing to go away and find the information. So I spent 2 years researching technical analysis. I contacted universities, institutions all around the world, dozens and dozens and dozens, university professors on psychology and all that sort of stuff. And then that's how the first book came in. I needed to investigate, is this technical analysis, chart patterns, Fibonacci levels, is there something with this? So what I was really trying to do was warn retail traders, be very careful. And so that's how I wrote the first book. And then the second book, again, came about a little bit out of accident. I was at an investor trader kind of meeting, and this guy who was a broker, salesman kind of guy came in and gave a talk. And so much of what he said was absolute rubbish. So I just felt, again, I was driven by the fact that I didn't want people getting hurt by all this nonsense. There's a lot of what I call, this junk food industry. And so the second book was published a few years ago, An End to the Bull. And I really wanted to get rid of some of the myths of trading and explain really a different path to retail traders to try and get them on a better path to sustainable profit. Or the other thing I was trying to do with the book was to say, if you think this is too hard, it's best not to trade.
Yeah, that's a good point. And because I know you work for big institutions, so can the big institution control the market?
Look, I think there's no, not really, no. I mean, a big trader or a big institution can potentially control some areas of some markets for a short space of time. But I do not believe that for any particular length of time. People talk about, this bank is holding the S&P 500 here, or they're buying bonds. I mean, if you look at the size of the US stock market and the size of the bond market, to think that one trader in a bank even can do a lot of that, it's, for small periods, perhaps, we're talking about minutes. And I have been in an institution where I've been able to control certain markets for a certain space of time. But we're talking about mid-cap stocks, and we're talking about, 5 or 10 minutes that I can do that. But anytime you try and do that, you don't really know what else is out there, so you could run into someone. So, no, I would get a lot of the conspiracy theories around what the big guys are doing. I would get that out of your head.
You said they can control market in 1 minute or in very short term in certain products. So what this happened because they place large orders or they got huge of money to do that, right? So
exactly. So at that time they have a large amount of business to do. Now West, we ended up trading really huge amounts of options at a time, but people can say, we could dominate that pit. But a lot of the time, the people trading against us were other banks. There's this sort of view about, they are doing this in a sense that all the banks are doing the same thing at the same time. And that's not always the case. And it might be that one big bank has a big order to be buying bonds right now and another bank has a big order to be selling. So it's not true that they're all doing the same thing at the same time.
You work with a big bank. The big bank provide training or provide education to their new traders. And how is it going on?
The way that obviously the traders are selected, that doesn't always mean that they select good ones. And so in a bank, you get a more rounded, a much more broader training to begin with. You learn about lots of aspects of investment banking, of markets. That's the first thing. And of course, the next thing is you sit next to one of the experienced traders for a long time. So, you'll be sitting next to him learning. Saying that, there's still a reasonably high failure rate of bank traders. So generally, I would say that the benefits in banks is that more broader. The banks are trying their people to get a more broad experience.
How is the rate Can you tell me?
I would say even in a bank, I would say if 50% of their traders do well, that's probably quite high. And the same with a lot of you hear about the futures prop rooms around the world. I've heard from a number of people who have been in prop rooms that many of them will have failure rates no different from the industry. So we're talking about 80 to 90% of the traders in prop rooms failing, and that's not easy for people. Every day you're facing challenges.
You talked about being the options market maker at life, and what is market making in your view?
As a market maker, your role is to make prices, create liquidity, provide liquidity, and obviously for yourself is to make money. And that usually you support yourself, or you work in a small group of people that you're not part of a bank, you're putting up your own money, you're making prices. And generally we have, quite a large position at the end of every day. We don't trade, flat every day. So your job is to be a liquidity provider, make prices and use the spread and the usual market making skills to make money intraday and with a position.
As a market making manager, could you tell us more about market making strategies and how do big institutions do it?
Exactly. It's almost been a case of the way it's evolved with the algos is actually not technically, a lot of it's not market making. So what a lot of algos are programmed to do essentially is front running. Finding out when there's a big order and jumping in front. That isn't market making. That isn't market making. Sometimes as a market maker, you will want to jump in front of a big order, but sometimes you'd want to trade against it. So market making is more nuanced than that. But there are some key techniques, which, as I said before, are still very valid today. And, for those that can do it, and I teach some institutions, I don't tend to teach, HFTs, because I don't want lots and lots of people learning these techniques. It's not in my interest.
Okay.
But it is possible. I do teach some retail traders, but mainly professionals. But the strategies themselves, the techniques behind market making are as valid today as they were before. It's just that what people think is market making today isn't, so it's not front running. It's more than that. It's a lot more than that.
Can you give us specific examples how do we pick up one product like mini S&P 500? So how we to use the market making strategy to trade the ES or other products?
The key thing about market making is, and this thought process behind it is, you're not looking to predict where the market's going. So what everybody comes into the business thinking is that this business is about predicting. Where's it going? And when you work as a market maker, you come in with a different frame of mind. You're going to trade a lot more than everybody else. So we trade a lot. And all we ask ourselves is basically, where is it valued right now? Can I buy it cheaper or can I sell it a little bit higher? And you're literally looking with futures, for example, we're scalping, 2, 3, 4 ticks. That's it. But we want to do that dozens of times a day. So you're not predicting where it's going. You're just saying that right now, I think it's valued at 16. I think I can buy 15 since I'm 16 and make a tick or two. That's essentially the difference. And I would liken it to, if you look at, for example, horse racing or sports betting, it's like being a bookmaker. Bookmakers are a very different business to the people that are punting, who are trying to guess who wins the horse race. And in the trading industry, most people are trying to be punters. They're trying to guess who's going to win this horse race, predict where it's going. And what we're trying to do as market makers is say, look, I don't know where it's going. I don't know where it's going. But right now, I can pick up a quick couple of ticks. That's it. And it's like a bookmaker. And if you look at the horse racing industry, who are the people that make money day after day after day? It's the bookmakers, not the people that are betting on horses. So that's the same in the trading industry. The vast majority of retail traders lose money.
I got from you, I think, is your market making is a little bit like you. Did you base on other technical analysis tools like volume profile, other tools to make your specific strategies? So you just watch from, I guess you just watch from the market, see the orders or the limit orders, or which side is more aggressive? Is it like this way or?
Look, there's actually a range of information that comes from the market you're trading and also from outside. There's a range of information. So we're not trading on every spread or every time. There's 4 or 5 key bits of information that we use, but I can't,
I know.
I'm not going to say, but I can tell you that I don't use volume profiles. They all, in my opinion, are flawed. And to give an example, I'm working with a couple of people about trying to automate my ideas into more of an algo type thing, because potentially there are thousands of these opportunities every day, and manually we can only get maybe 100, 150. But turning this into that kind of automated algo is extremely difficult. It's far more difficult. So there's a lot more to it than just using indicators. Indicators are always going to be shortcuts. Yeah. And in my experience, shortcuts in trading are just shortcuts to failure.
Because when I trade, I'm like a scalper, but I only take from the market like 4 or 5 ticks. So when I only use depth of market to see the orders coming, or in some particular prices there's more orders refilled and just big orders coming through, or more aggressive buys, something like that. I'm just learning from the market, because I use volume profile or other tools to just give me more specific levels, so support or resistance levels. And I think it's most important for the retail traders become more professional traders. He need to know which kind of tools he can easily to use. It's because sometimes the easy tools is more effective tools, I think. Have you experienced, biggest mood swings in your trading career? How did you get through that?
Yeah, it's funny. Not really regarding trading. Not so much. Sometimes, there are quiet times. As a professional trader, though, you do get to learn that you have really good times and you have quiet times. One of the things you have to realize is that when the markets are very quiet, or they're not doing what you would like them to do, they're not as active or as volatile as you want them to be, most of the time what we would do as a professional is just to not trade. So rather than have good times and bad times, we try to have good times and quiet times. So rather than trade and lose money over those times, we would just not trade. So you have to get used to that kind of profile, that you might have 2 months of not much going on, so you don't do much. And you get used to that. But I get asked a lot about, is trading stressful? People say, trading's a stressful job. Yeah. And my answer to that is that any job is stressful if you're not good at it. If I was working in a kitchen of a restaurant and my job was chopping vegetables, okay, I'm terrible at that. I'm terrible with chopping vegetables with knife. Right? I would be yelled at all the time by the chef. I would be yelled at. I would find that stressful. Because I'm not good at it. If you're good at something, it doesn't become stressful. And what happens is, when you have a loss, you'll just ask yourself what happened, and you use that as a stepping stone to improve. Okay. If you can't learn from your mistakes, which a lot of people can't, if you're using technical indicators, Fibonacci levels, and when they don't work, and they don't work quite a lot, you won't be able to learn from it. Now you're going to be in a very difficult position. And that's what I don't.
Many traders want to know more about trading psychology. Retail traders like using technical indicators, but they are not disciplined enough. Some traders seek help from professional psychologists. Some institutions have their own psychologists. What do you think about this?
Yeah, so I study psychology quite a lot, and it's obviously an interesting part of trading. And there's a lot of people out there that are called trading psychologists and that, but I'm very skeptical of pretty much all the ones. One of the things is this: it's very much linked to the tools that you're using. And this is what comes out in my book. I explain about random rewards. Random rewards like that, where your rewards are random, are addictive. And we do not want to be addictive. So with my market making skills, I know exactly, precisely where the edge is and why it should happen. I target winners of 80%. I target 90% of trades not to be losers. So by doing that, I know that I'm not getting addicted to random rewards. My rewards are not random. They're not random. And again, I see people out there who call themselves trading psychologists who are using chart patterns. No one who has studied psychology should use chart patterns. We know this from behavioral finance, that humans like to sort of say, oh, last time I saw that pattern, that thing, that happened. So therefore, the next time I see that, that will happen. That is not understanding what's really happening. That's what we try and do, because we like to make these shortcuts. We like to simplify it. I would really say to people, and I talk quite a lot in my book about psychology, I would look very clearly first at what techniques you're using. Following on from that, on a personal psychology, there are definitely things.
Some say that everyone can trade. You will make money out of it as long as you work hard enough. Do you agree?
Trading is not going to be for everybody. And that's one of the things, I hear it said, anybody, if you work hard on your psychology, anyone can trade. I don't believe that. In the same that not everybody can become a professional golfer. Even if I had lots of lessons and the best golfer in the world trained me, I know that I cannot become a professional golfer. And partly it's down to my psychology and my work rate.
In your opinion, what are the requirements to be a trader?
Number one is you must be very disciplined. You cannot be a successful trader without discipline. So you must cut your losses quickly. It's just essential. Secondly, you need to want to win. And I mean want to win really badly.
The discipline the word is easy for retail traders. When I lost the money, so I want to back the money back, so I will put more loss on the account or on the trading. So I will get a huge loss and I lost everything. Everyone can understand it. How can we to do this? So do you got any suggestion for us?
And again, it comes down to the strategy you choose. If you choose a swing trading, for example, strategy, where your P&L and you're trading 5 lots of futures, your P&L is going to be up or down $2,000 a day.
Yeah.
And with all swing trading, it's very unreliable. You'll sometimes make, you'll sometimes lose. You're going to have a down day someday of 2,000, and maybe the next day's a down day of 2,000. And now you're in trouble, right? Now you do have problems with discipline. So the first thing is, if you choose a method of trading, for example, like scalping futures, like what you do, okay? So scalping futures, small terms, where your profits are $50, okay? But you want to do maybe 20, 30, 40 trades a day. And let's say I target that I believe that I should make 8 times out of 10, I should be making money on a trade. So let's say I have 4 losing trades in a row. At that point, things have gone really bad now. So what you want to do by doing that is that your type of trading is saying to you that even if you have a really bad day, you can stop at maybe $150, $200. Now, that's not going to, make people emotionally upset. By trading for smaller amounts, as a retail trader in particular, by keeping your trades small for smaller amounts, you're actually making the psychology of your trading a lot easier. And again, people that are taking, big trades or swing trades and holding trades for 3, 4, 5, 6 days, they're going to have big P&L swings where I'm holding trades for 3 seconds. So what P&L swings? I'm not going to have the swings that they're going to have. Emotionally, psychologically, my life as a scalper is much easier than theirs.
And can the retail traders learn the market making strategies?
I think they can. I just think, unfortunately for retail traders, there's pretty much no one out there teaching it. All they will find when they look to learn to trade is technical analysis, chart patterns, trend lines, Fibonacci levels, and that's all they find. So if that's all that's out there, that's all they're going to get. So that's a bit of a shame. It's one of my, the key themes about, why I write my book and things. But they can learn it if they want to and if they can find it. But, I'm gathering that there's me and maybe one or maybe in the world that are teaching it. So it's not an easy thing to get hold of.
Many institutions like recruiting a new trader from universities. For graduates, do you suggest they join institutions or trade by themselves? Which one is better option?
I think a couple of things. Firstly, it's very important, the style of trading. You can go into a big institution, but if they're trading with the wrong ways, you're going to learn the wrong things. But saying that, one of the things is when you work for yourself at home, just behind a computer, you can only learn the mistakes that you make. You can only see the things that you see. Whereas when you're with 20, 30 other people, then you can see the mistakes that other people are making. So it should be possible to learn a bit quicker. And that's a key thing about, working on a live floor, in an investment bank where there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of traders. You can see so many different mistakes and so many different things. I'm like, I'm glad I saw that. And that's a good thing that I'll not see now. So when you trade for yourself, you only see what you see. When you work with others, you can hopefully, if someone blows up and loses lots of money, it's a bad thing for them, but a good thing for you. You can learn what they did wrong.
Okay. When recruiting traders, more and more institutions prefer candidates with math or data background because they can code and make strategies. Another reason is that many traders are quants. How can we adapt to this? And do we need to be one of them?
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, and one that comes up a lot about this. Now, you're right that banks increasingly went towards PhD grads and mathematical and physics. And in fact, the prop rooms also went that way. Yeah. And many of them that I've heard want to go back the other way. I heard a lot of prop shops now have realized their mistake, and they want to go back to more sort of video gaming kind of kids rather than the PhDs. It's important to understand there is definitely a part of trading, more for position trading, where you need to be able to test things thoroughly. And that's where the quantitative aspect can come in. It isn't. And in fact, some of the biggest losses I've ever seen in banks are caused by the smartest people. Just because you're very smart and you're a PhD in maths does not mean you'll become a good trader. I've met many terrible traders in banks who were very smart and who had tested their systems so thoroughly, more than the rest of us who were just, viewed, in not such great terms. They lost a lot of money. And if you look about, LTCM, back in the 1990s, they were supposedly the smartest people going around. The biggest hedge fund, the smartest hedge fund, only got the best people, Nobel Prize winners, and they blew up. So it's really important to understand that trading is not a mathematical problem. Yes, you can test things, but it doesn't mean it's a mathematical problem. And secondly, it's not about how smart you are. You can be very intelligent, but it doesn't make you a great trader. It's a lot more than that.
But for you, what is the motivation for you still to trade every day or regularly to trade?
Really, it's about challenge for me, and I haven't found anything else that gives me the challenge that trading still gives. Even though I've done it for 30 years, I live in a beautiful spot just near the beach in Western Australia, so it is beautiful. In London, my career started early, so as I said, I was 18. So by the age of 32, I'd already achieved pretty much everything that I thought I could achieve in London. Yeah, you start again, you never believe just because I've been successful for X amount of years, I'm going to be successful tomorrow. You have to have that humility, be humble, and say, look, every day is different. So it's about a challenge. For me right now, also, I'm working towards almost the last challenge left, which is to start my own hedge fund. So I'm hoping to get that started, perhaps later this year or early next year. So I'm developing with, as I say, a quant friend that I work with. We're developing strategies now. So that's probably the only thing that I've never done in this industry is to start my own hedge fund and to try and make it. So that's what we're looking at the moment. And that's what's driving me right now.
That's very interesting. I'm just looking forward to your hedge fund. That's it for our today's interview. Thanks a lot, Gary, and we learned a lot from you and your experiences because you got over 30 years working in the institutions and banks, and you shared your market making strategies. And I think that's quite rare in the market right now, and it's really rare in Chinese market. And I hope the Chinese investors or traders can get your point. I get a lot of points from you. Just thank you so much again.
Thank you, Richard. I've really enjoyed the chat. Thank you very much.
通过我们今天和 Gary 的采访呢，我相信大家应该是受益良多。首先，第一个是机构是如何做交易的，特别是像大型的商业银行或者是一些投行，那其实他们真的是花了很多的资金在策略上面，或者是在人员的储备上面，跟我们个人交易者差距比较远的，因为个人是很难去做市商的一些策略。那第二个呢是 Gary 跟我们分享了很多关于交易心理学上面的一些他的认知，那他从机构交易员的一个角度上面给到了我们的一些建议。那Gary 的内容是值得大家多次去观看，然后去体验的。我从他的谈话过程当中学到了非常多的一些知识点。那我们做一个预告，下一期会邀请到的是 Steve。那 Steve 呢是一个非常有趣的交易员，他曾经在 Life 交易所任职长达10年时间。那之后他就转型成为提升效率的这样一个培训师，主要就是提升交易员的效率。也就是在帮助交易员破解他自己一些瓶颈期如何提高他的专注度，如何提高他的交易效率，如何提高他的盈利效率，包括在交易心理学方面也是 Steve 非常非常擅长的内容。那希望大家锁定我们的伦敦交易者，那期待我们下一期的节目。